I've tried to get out of my contract with this podcast about 5 times, and
You can't go anywhere, buddy.
all right, welcome to
The clap!
Tales from the Ditch. Once again, with Seth, Sean, the people who for some reason still listen, and we have back on Coach Clif in the apocalypse coming at you. How you doing, Clif?
I am well. How are you boys doing tonight?
So good.
Yeah.
I've been better. I gotta be honest, Sean and I aren't on great terms, so it's kind of uncomfortable doing this podcast.
Slip the gloves on. Let's go, boys.
So
And
it's
I can't stand Seth's support of Nambla.
Nambla. No.
Is that the
I just can't get behind it. I've tried to see it from your side. I just can't do it.
Nambla.
Is that the pervert one with the men and
Yes.
boys?
You would know.
You would, yeah.
You knew that. That's so terrible. Oh, this conversation has given me the diabetes.
The diabetes.
Oh, gosh. No, I'm glad we don't have contracts. If we had to do this, man, that could go bad. But goodness. Clif, so how's it going during this quarantine? I know you're not able to be at the gym, training, coaching. How's it going?
It's not really this whole at home thing is not really out of the ordinary for me, as I don't go out really anyways. You know, I'm either at work or at the gym or at home. So
Yeah.
it's not really out of the ordinary for me. And you know what? After all this is over, it's going to be just more of the same, right? So it's good. I am all right with how this is all going down, except for I've been eating way too much food. But other than that, all good, man.
Now,
All
question: a lot of the people who, were looking forward to this, the people who spent years making their underground bunkers and storing up caches out in the desert and stuff like this, are complaining now that they can't get haircuts. Have you been able to get a haircut, Clif?
I have not, no. And I'm just going to let it grow.
It's getting shaggy?
It's getting shaggy, baby. You should see it.
Awesome.
It is awesome.
My
It's gonna
haircut is easy to maintain in the apocalypse.
Indeed it is.
Just a rusty knife. It goes over dry skin, makes that noise.
It's
Jesse Ventura from Predator.
Yeah,
right.
just dry shaving. Oh, man, that's brutal.
Good. Yeah, that's good stuff right there.
No, it's crazy because usually the only places I went was kickboxing and pubs. And I
Right.
miss both because kickboxing I kind of took for granted and went, oh, I can go anytime I want, and I'll show up. And the same thing with pubs. I was like, oh, I can text, Tony or Sean or Clif. And now I'm like, shoot, I miss going to pubs. I miss going there.
Right. No, I do too. I hear you.
Yeah, it's a bummer. And it's weird because going to pubs, there truly is a social aspect. I never thought that was that important to me, but I'm realizing now that it is. Because I can drink. I have access to any drink I want.
Right.
I just, I miss sitting at the bar, getting thrown out of the bar, things like that.
Yeah.
Indeed, sir. Indeed.
Getting knifed by a common streetwalker,
Yeah.
Which always happens. So,
just
It's
they
to be
always
missed, right?
the same knife. I'm gonna kill you. Give me your money. It just gets real old, Susan. Okay, pick a different
Susan
corner.
will always do it to you.
That's the best
Classic.
headline. It was like quote from victim, "What are you going to do, stab me?" The man was stabbed.
Did you see the one about the Florida kid who led the police on a chase?
Yes.
He stole a flag and outran the police, and they had to have like all these cars bring him down. He was like 10 or 11. just basically they're like, what are you gonna do? Run? And he just sprints with the flag, and they're like, oh crap, chasing after him. Oh gosh.
So awesome. That's great.
See, if you can have some fun during the apocalypse, I mean, come on.
Something that I posted that's become a little controversial for some reason was in the San Clemente, in the skate park, they filled it in with sand,
Yes, they did.
And I thought that was a bit of an overreaction. Now, I've come under heat for saying this because apparently it's supposedly the cheapest method to deal with this problem.
Right.
And I don't know if that's true. I think you would have a hard time proving that it's cheaper to rent a driver and a backhoe and several people to clean it out when it's done than it is to get an $8 an hour ESI security guy. But one of the things that I think is my sentiment in it is, being a skateboarder, you're always kind of picked on a little bit by the police and the municipalities and stuff, kind of unfairly proportioned to the rest of the people. And they didn't put down spike strips on the walking paths, and they didn't uproot the pavement on the basketball courts. They just did this to the skate park, and I think that's like a little frustrating. But people are saying that those kids got what was coming to them because they wouldn't honor the quarantine or the shelter in place thing. What do you guys think?
Where did this happen?
San Clemente.
San Clemente. What do you think, Cliff?
Well, let's see. I think that skate parks are always the last thing to go up, right? So, of course, they're usually a reaction to everybody saying we don't want the kids skateboarding on the street, on the sidewalks, at malls, all that stuff, right? So they built skate parks, out of the way so everybody can skate at the park. Well, if it's the last thing up, it's going to be the first thing down, right? So I think that easy targets. So,
yeah.
I mean, and they probably aren't going to reopen it for a while, right? It's going to be last on the list to be actually opened back up, right?
Sure, and they won't even clean it, I'm sure.
Right. Nope, not at all. So it's just it's an afterthought, and I think that it's just a way to appease all the masses, right? Like they're like, everyone's complaining about this, easy target, just kids. They're all young, it always happens like that. People always want to go for the low hanging fruit all the time, right? So this is just another aspect of that, I think.
Yeah, and they don't want to go after Karen from Somerset first because she'll actually sue them.
Well, right, like who needs to, like, if you're at the store and you don't need to be at the store, right? Like, how about them? It's that you can't really stop them from going to the store, right?
Yeah.
But they can stop everyone from going to the skate park. So
yeah, I mean, you could let weasels loose in the store. That
sure.
seems like an equal response to sand in the skate park. But I don't know.
Have you seen the video of the weasel dancing?
No.
I'll send you the link. The point is, I've had a lot of time while I've been home. The point is, Sean, are you aware that there's a journalist from the UK saying that Karens don't want to be called Karen anymore? That's a slur, calling white women Karen.
I saw that.
Yeah, the first comment was, that's such a Karen thing to say.
They're so oppressed, man. I don't understand that.
She compared it to a slur. She's like, this is the same as a slur. And I remember Bill Burr saying, like, you're really complaining as a white woman in America? You're in the jacuzzi with me.
Yeah, seriously. And yeah, she's like, the thing is sorry. Bill Burr's so good. The fact, like, John Mulaney says something, he's talking about how they compared the word midget to the N-word. And he goes, no, when you'll say midget, but you won't even say the N-word, that's a worse word. And I think it's the same with this. And what a boomer thing to say.
Exactly. What a boomer thing to say. It's so funny.
I actually saw another good meme that was like, if you breach your shelter in place to go get a haircut, it has to be this haircut, and it showed the Karen haircut.
For real.
Still there, Seth?
Yeah, no, there was.
Okay.
I'm trying to think of all the memes now that. So there was one that said, "I feel bad for all the attractive people who don't have personalities, and they're now having to communicate over the internet." And the guy below him posts, "I feel attacked," and he goes, "You really shouldn't." And was making a comment that you're not that attractive. But it's like, dude, this quarantine is just nuts. There's been so much good material coming out. But yeah.
All kinds of stuff.
Clif, I gotta ask you something because this is something that's been happening with me. So work right now for me, it's easier. It's irritating, but it's easier because it's kind of slow.
Mm-hmm.
But mentally, I really want to exercise how I used to.
Yes.
And I found that has been super frustrating because I don't enjoy running.
Nope, I don't either.
I don't enjoy doing pull-ups at the park.
Nope.
Like, a thug. But I did like kickboxing. Is there anything mentally where you're kind of like, man, I wish I could just spar or something like that?
Yeah, all of it. I mean, over the years, I've run through everything, right? I've done the gym and CrossFit, and I've run and I've hiked, and I've played sports and all that stuff, and I've actually pared it down to where the exercise that I love is what I do at RCK, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, and I'm older and I don't have unlimited energy. So I take inspiration from everybody else at the gym, right? Like that's my reason to go. That's why I go there, right? So, and it just happens to be that it's a form of activity, right?
Yeah.
So without that now, I don't like to do anything else, really. I mean, I don't like the gym. I mean, the regular old gym, right? So,
yeah.
And I don't really want to work out at home either. It's just, the only exercise I like is actually hitting stuff. That's it.
Have I got good news for you, Clif? So I didn't run this by Sean, which I never do, but let's all talk about the 3 greatest fights we've ever seen. And it could be professional or illegally on the street. So, Clif, kickboxing, Muay Thai, or MMA, in your mind, what are some fights that stick out to you of like, just, man, that was a great fight? It could be technical, it could be brawl, just leg kicks, knees to the face, elbows. You got guys like Rod Tang, Zambitis, John Wayne Parr, you got Sanchez. What are some fights that stand out to you of like, man, if I could goof around and just chill at home and watch this fight, it would be it? What are like 3 or 4 fights like that?
Glory 59, and it's Robin Van Roosmalen versus Petch Panamorong. That's a great fight. It's a Thai that has modified his style to work, in the Glory rule set. And I mean, he's good. He is really good. He beats him up. And
Sean, he gets knockdowns with teeps. He'll teep people down into like 8 ounce.
Yeah, I mean, he uses his hands, his left kick. He's sharp. He's really good. I mean, it really shows how that if the Thai style, if there are weapons in the Thai style that work really well outside of the style, and he shows all of it. He shows all of it throughout that whole fight. I mean, he's outstanding. So fight number 2 is probably man, there's so many awesome fights, man. So Askarov versus Robin Van is also awesome, at a Glory 1 or something like that.
It was in the beginning for that one.
Yeah, that one was awesome, but it looks like they're just doing straight Dutch drills, right? Like for the whole match. And it's outstanding.
Sean, they just go back and forth, like standing in front of each other, exchanging for 3 rounds. That's all they do, back up.
Oh my gosh.
It's like painful to watch where you're like their legs are black, not even they have black marks and red blood marks.
Oh
Right.
my gosh.
It's absolutely insane. And then I think that I saw years ago, I liked Mark Hunt versus what's his name? Damn it.
Bigfoot or Screw?
No. I like Mark Hunt when he was Mark Hunt versus Ray
Ray
Seppo.
Seppo.
Yeah, that's a good one too. And
Oh
they
my
just
gosh.
stand there and hit each other, and that's old. That's an old one, but they literally just hit each other in the face.
They
for the
drop
whole
their
time.
hands and say, "Go ahead."
Yeah, and
Like
they're
they
both
drop their hands.
huge guys, right? They're giant men. They're giant, tough men. It's the best. It's
Sean,
so
he literally, Mark Hunt drops his hand and they go, "Come on," and they let them hit each other clean on the chin. And this is a guy from New Zealand who's close to 300.
I think I saw this one.
It's painful. It's a concussion just watching it.
Yeah, but it's awesome. And there's just so many. I mean, there's a lot of awesome MMA fights, and I mean all that stuff. I mean, there's just tons of awesome fights.
Dope, man. What about you, Mr. Moss? Any fights you can remember?
I don't know a whole lot about fights. I know professionally speaking, I always thought, and I don't know if this is silly or cliche, but the Thrilla in Manila main event was pretty amazing.
Mm-hmm.
In MMA, I don't know. I remember there was this one UFC with Tank Abbott and this other guy who was like a judo guy, I think. And it was just like a slugfest, and it was awesome. It was a long time ago.
Yeah,
it was like UFC 10 minus or something. I don't know. That was a really enjoyable one because that's my guy, Tank Abbott.
Good old Tank Abbott.
Yeah, he was dope. What about? Did you see any Liddell fights or Belfort or Anderson Silva?
I was thinking a memorable fight. I don't know. I can't really remember if it was the greatest fight, but what was that one Liddell fight? And we went to it. We were at a bar watching it somewhere, and it was the first time. I think it was the first UFC time that he got knocked out. What was the guy he was fighting? The big, tall, black guy.
Was it Rashad Evans? He did the right hand, and it just dropped Liddell, and he went out.
I think so, yeah. And it was like a surprise. And I think that was fun just because I don't think a lot of people really expected a knockout. I thought they expected a real technical fight. And there was like people there with Chuck Liddell shirts and Chuck Liddell haircuts. And everybody was just so excited to see him because it sparks, and that he's kind of like our guy, he's our trailer park guy. Yeah. And when he got knocked out, just the mood in the bar. Mm-hmm. And I remember I just stood and saluted. Was it Evans? Because I was just so impressed by it. It was
Rashad Evans, that's it.
That was fun.
Yeah. You didn't care about people's feelings that night. I remember. You,
yeah, I felt really bad.
A lot of people went home and committed domestic abuse after.
Yeah, there was this family, and they had 2 kids. They brought 2 kids, and they had to get agreement from the bar to let their kids in just to watch this fight because that was their guy, Chuck Liddell. And it's just something about it. Watching people just die on the inside really makes me feel good. I don't know. Mickey Ward and Arturo Gatti was great.
Sure, yes, I was going to list that one. Yes,
that was a really good one. But I don't know. It's boxing, so it's kind of like a whole different thing, I guess. I don't know.
No, that was, dude. I think it was round 9, and correct me if I'm wrong, Cliff, was like round of the year or round of the decade. That was
it was an insane fight for sure.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah.
I can think of a lot of schoolyard fights that I thought were great.
I actually have one. I remember, and it was somebody actually caught like their right index knuckle right in their eye. It was so great. He hit him with an uppercut, and he just dropped, and he was, dude, it was so good. It was so good. Awesome stuff right there. Let's say it was a JS versus JB. That's who it was against.
Oh my God.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I would say so. Definitely, Ward and Gotti was just brilliant. I thought that's how boxing should be.
Right.
I really liked them. I liked Tyson. If we're going kickboxing, it's Zambitis and Chahi. Yeah, great fight. If we're going Muay Thai, Rod Tang versus Jonathan Haggerty too. Rod Tang is just nuts, and it's a Muay Thai fight, but with 3-ounce gloves, and Rod Tang's telling him and just taking it. And then I would say MMA, because you actually brought up some of the ones I've thought of. I'd say for me, it's either, let me see, because I always like Liddell and other guys. Dang, there's so many with MMA, because I watched a lot more of those before I started Muay Thai, of like, Couture winning the heavyweight title and, stuff like that. I'd say maybe recently the ones that stick out to my mind are either when Forrest Griffin and Bonner both fought and they got a 6-figure contract each, and it was a surprise. Or I would say Robbie Lawler versus Caleb, what's his name? It was Robbie Lawler defending his welterweight title.
Yeah, that was Rory McDonald.
There you go. Not Caleb Starnes. He fought Nate Corey. Yeah, Rory McDonald versus Robbie Lawler 2. Robbie Lawler finished the fight with a half-inch cut through his lip to his cheek. And Rory McDonald's nose was broken for 2 rounds. And he kept taking shots. And it looked like a crime scene. And then Robbie Lawler, after he knocked Rory McDonald down, and he finally tapped because he's like, my nose is shattered. Robbie Lawler is yelling to the crowd, flexing, opening his mouth, and you can see the split in his lip while he's screaming.
Gosh.
And it seriously was like the gnarliest thing. I should not have watched it on. It was so crazy. But
everything's better with cocaine, dude.
Yeah. Robbie Lawler is a man. He even told his coach, he goes, I don't need a spar. I know how to fight. And they're like, well, let's see how that does for you. And then he wins the title. And you're like, huh. Because I felt like he had sparred so many years. He took a year off from hard sparring because he's like, no, I'm not going to take tons of damage.
Yeah.
Which is kind of smart.
Yeah. Well, as you get older, I mean, it's just, that's what you have to do, I think.
And when you have rage in your heart, you want to save it up.
I agree. For the fights.
Show.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
What about Probert, Bob Probert, the hockey player?
Yeah.
24 the number.
Dude, I can't remember what fight it was, but I just remember he was punching this guy who had a full face mask on and just bare-fisted hitting like a plastic padded mask, just going at it to town like a boxer. That fight was
Speaking of cocaine, that dude loved the booger sugar.
He loves nose beers.
Bobby Probert, I think, and speaking of hockey, like hockey just produces some gnarly dudes. Because like Mike Vallely, the skateboarder, he fought 3 dudes on tape. He was a hockey player. And then from our gym,
forgot about that.
From our gym, we call him Hockey Pete. He just won a title. And he's done hockey, amateur boxing, and amateur Muay Thai, and just won a title in Muay Thai. I'm like, hockey for some reason just makes people just gnarly, just beasts.
Well, and he's so quiet, dude. You too.
I know.
He's the quiet assassin. I love you, Pete.
He's Andrew Peterson. Hockey Pete is so mad. Like he wants to fight God at a catchweight. Like he is pissed. Like he just. And he doesn't he's not a prick about it either. Like if you talk to him, he's so mellow. Like when I had my smoker, it wasn't even a title fight or anything. It's a smoker. Pete's like, my man, just kick him. And good job, man. Just smash him in the face. Like just so calm. He's rooting for you. He's acting like a dad who just saw his kid like win a title or something. And all I was doing was like just throwing spinning kicks at people. But like he's such a nice dude. He's just a nice like young dude who just wants to fight everyone.
And he's tough. He's really good.
Yeah, and he's murdered people. I can't prove it, but I know you've murdered people. They're dead. They don't come back, son.
Dead. Not just dead, but dead.
Yeah, dead.
Yeah.
So
There's
that
also
was-
the. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Seth.
we will interrupt each other. This is quarantine rules. It's fine. Chuck Liddell knocking out Tito for the second time
Oh yeah.
was very arousing. Now that was amazing.
I hate Tito. He's so boring.
Dude, he's such a, he's doing HGH too. You see his jawline has like a six pack and a butt. It's like, dude,
It's true.
I don't know.
That's
a
awesome.
great fight that I can think of, and I don't know, I've never followed professional fighting as closely as you guys, so I can't come up with a bunch of great fights, but I know I've seen a ton. But one of the greatest fights I saw was like early phone video of like, I think it was Russian gangs, and each gang had more than 200 people in it, and it was just this straight brawl. Do you remember that video, Seth?
They were hooligans. It was Russian hooligans fighting each other. They had like flares going off and throwing rocks, and they were chanting as they charged over. Dude, it looked like Braveheart, Cliff.
Dude, I have an awesome one for you. It was almost me versus all of the Sacramento minor league soccer hooligans against just me and my girlfriend. Ask Sean about that.
I was there. Yeah, actually, yeah. I've always said, man, we need more hooligans until that night. Yeah, and I don't know the deets of what happened to make them so mad. I know you might know a little bit about it, Cliff, but I just know that I saw Cliff at the game, our local 1868 soccer club, and I saw him there, and I was like, "Hey, man, how's it going?" Later, and then after the game. We went to across the street, the bar Mellow Fellow, to just have a little nightcap. I saw Cliff, and I was like, "Hey, dude, good to see you. Take it easy," and then left. And I was with my family, like you do,
right?
And as I was leaving, I literally see this mob of like 10 yoked up kids with the team that lost shirt on just walk into the bar and kind of push past me and my family. And I kind of had to shove my family to the side so these guys could walk by. And I go, uh-oh, somebody's mad. And as I'm leaving, I see them walk over and Clif's at the bar with his girlfriend, and behind everybody surrounds Clif. And Clif doesn't even know what's going on at the time because they're still surrounding him. And so I told my wife and son, I was like, you guys go up to the car. I'll be up there in a minute. And I go back in and I just kind of like break through the crowd and I say, oh, hey, Clif, what's up? Put my hand on his shoulder just so that he knew I was there. But I couldn't have done anything. But it was fun.
So awesome. I just okay, so here's what actually happened is that we were actually there for a work barbecue, right? So yeah, we were there for a work barbecue. So, and we're just, dude, we are hammered. I mean, I've drank quite a bit that evening as well.
Go on.
We were hanging out with this guy and his family and his son and his younger daughter, his cousin, and they're just, they're just, it's just like the regular factory working people, right? Like blue collar ass people, right? And we're all having drinks. And of course I'm buying all of them drinks, and we're having a good time at the company barbecue. So we leave after the game. They left first. I go out behind them and I see these guys screwing around with his wife, who we were with out in the street. So like, I don't know what happened. I just like pushed everybody away, and I got right in his face, and I'm like, what the are you doing? That's a woman. Keep your hands off that woman, right? And I didn't know if, I had no idea. So all of a sudden, him and his 8 friends, like pretty giant dudes, right? All like surround me, and my, who I was with at the time, she's hiding behind the, the electrical transformer there. She's like, hiding behind it. She's like, oh my God, what's going on? So I just start talking to all of them. I'm like, you guys, I don't give who you are. He's like, oh man, it's cool. And then there's always one guy in every group, right? That's hella tough, right?
The Joe Pesci.
Yeah, so he's staring at me, and I'm like, you better put a leash on your boy, or he's getting it first, right? And there's cops around, and no one's saying anything to me. So I'm like, and I'm gonna keep, I'm like, I didn't care, and that was actually while I was getting, while I was getting ready for my smoker as well. So I was like working out a lot and dieting and sparring. I was like hard, right? I was like ready to go always. And I was like, I had some alcohol in me, and I'm like, why are you guys screwing around with my friend's wife? And like, they were like holding on to her, and I was like, you guys need to go. You guys need to get the F out of my face. Don't mess with her. I told all of them to go. I'm like, you guys just leave. You guys leave. I'll take care of this, right? So they're like, oh man, it's cool. It's all right. It's okay. So I walk over to the bar, right? And I see Sean. And I'm like, Sean, what's up? He's like, hey, dude, what's going on? I'm like, oh, we're just here, wanting to have like an after the game drink, right? So I go sit at the bar, and out of the corner of my eye, I see all of them walk in, and I said to my girl, I'm like, here we go again. And I just like turned on my stool, and of course I started talking again. I'm like, you guys. I was like, there's like 8 of you guys and 1 of me. I'm like, and then all I see is that Sean's standing right there, and I'm like, at least somebody came up here. Sean's like, hey guys, like what's going on? It was great, and I was gonna get my ass kicked. Like they were big dudes.
They were big dudes.
They were hella big dudes, and I'm like, I don't care. I was like, whatever, man. Yeah, and the whole bar was like, oh, what's going on? It was like the classic bar brawl standoff, but it would have gotten ugly.
Yeah,
I would have pretended not to know you guys and then sucker punch as many people as possible when it started.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, I was like, dude, I was on an island there, all except for good old Sean out of nowhere. He's like, I'll help you guys. Like that was gonna be ugly.
Here I am.
Yeah, here I am. Yeah, so that was awesome.
Oh, Sean, I have one that Sean might enjoy, and I don't know if Clif will remember this. So good. So there was a guy, Nate Quarry, who fought a guy, Caleb Starnes, in Canada.
Oh, I remember that.
Now, Caleb Starnes was from Canada. Nate Quarry was not, and people are booing Nate Quarry. They're mouthing off from the crowd, and the fight starts, and he's chasing Caleb Starnes around. Like, Caleb is kind of backing away. He's even running at some points. He's not fighting, and the crowd's getting kind of frustrated. So round 2 starts, and Nate Quarry starts messing with him. He puts one hand over his face and puts his other arm through the arm and starts swinging it around.
Oh, yes.
He starts doing the running man, and Caleb Starnes is flipping him off. He starts doing spinning kicks. And the whole match goes like this, and the Canadian people start, to not boo Caleb and start cheering Nate Quarry. Well, the fight ends, and both their corners are mouthing off. They're cussing at each other. And Nate Quarry wins, gets on the mic, and he says, I came in, and people were booing me, and I didn't know what to say about that. He goes, but then I thought, if they can change, and I can change, we can all change. And the whole crowd goes nuts for this American who defeated their hometown hero and ended with a Rocky Balboa speech.
Yes.
It was just so
good.
It was awesome. It was great. It was so good.
Why
I remember
he
that.
ran? It was so weird.
Yeah, he actually didn't actually engage with them like at all.
No.
At all. It was really,
You remember
really
it though, Sean?
I do. I remember the way he was like taunting him, and I do remember him putting his hand through his like elbow.
Yeah.
And like doing this weird back punch thing, and I was just like, what's happening right now? But the speech was so beautiful.
It just was what we needed at the time. It was a rough time in our country's history. So that last 30 minutes was something I didn't plan, and that's all I had. So Sean, go ahead.
Oh gosh. Well, I heard you guys had some stories.
Oh, shoot. Let me go back to my notes. That was for like a month ago. Like
Yeah, I know.
I've
been waiting.
Stories.
Clif, what about I remember one of them, that Clif, you went to a restaurant and saw someone there whose services with counseling you've dealt with. Do you remember that story?
Went to a restaurant.
So you talked, man, this because
Oh,
I
okay.
want to blow the story. You went out on a date and saw shoot.
Yes.
Yeah, I
Yes,
don't want to
indeed.
ruin the story. That's not like
No,
this is like
okay. All right.
this is like
All right.
taboo. I don't know how to say it without ruining the
No,
story.
okay. All right. So I, like any good human, I have started going to a psychologist, right?
Yeah.
And I've known her now for about 3 years or so. So I mean, she knows everything about me, and I mean, I have not had good luck with women in my life, and I mean that's obvious to everybody that I know. So she forbids me not to date. She says you cannot date unless you clear it through me. All right. So I'm like, okay, cool. So I have not actually been out on like a real, actual, like romantic style, like out to dinner date for about 8 months now. All right. So I tell her, I'm like, okay, so one of my friends who I was romantically linked to, she was all divorced from her husband. I said, and I wanted to take her out to dinner. And she's like, I have to see her. You have to, I have to know all about her. And so I go through the story, show her pics, and she's like, okay, cool. I approve of you going out with her. And I said, okay, well, I'm going to go out with her on Friday evening out to dinner, right? So we're supposed to actually go to this one restaurant where I had reservations at, but the restaurant gave those away to somebody else. So I had to make other dinner plans at the other restaurant. So she's like, all right, cool. That's fine. We can go there. So I walk into this restaurant with this girl, and my psychologist and her friend are sitting right immediately inside the door. Immediately inside the door. And I mean, my psychologist happens to be like a good looking woman, right? So I'm like, oh man, this is going to be weird. So I say hi. I'm like, hi, how's it going? She's like, hey, what's going on? I'm like, no, I'm just here on a date. She's like, well, it's nice to see you. So, but the girl I was with, she's not like a insecure girl. So she didn't ask me the whole night who that was. And like, I obviously know who this person was, right? So I was like, hey, what's going on? She's like, hey, how's it going? And it was like the weirdest thing I've ever experienced ever. Because, she's with her friend. She's my psychologist. Like, that's odd, right? Anything about, her or her about you has to stay with us, right? And our relationship. So like, she can't tell anybody she's with who I am, right?
Right.
So you go, that's one of my clients, I mean, that's just not going to fly. and I can't really tell who I'm with, who that is, right? So it was really weird. Like that always happens. And it was a pretty good date, but it wasn't all that spectacular, but it was really weird for sure. Yeah.
The only time I've experienced
Only in
something
Reno.
that awkward was when I went to King's Skate Country and my mom gave me a ride, and it was couple skate night. And my mom was encouraging me to couple skate with this girl, and I was nervous. And my mom kept yelling for me to hold her hand, and I ignored her. So she yelled louder over them to hold her hand, and I skated away and cried. So
like, I can't do it, Mom. I can't do it.
I'm like, I just want to play Mortal Kombat. Can we go home? But yeah, that was one of them. Dang it. Yeah, we had like 3 or 4 stories, but then the apocalypse happened, and freaking thanks, Obama, we got quarantined in our houses. So
I don't remember the other one, Seth. Like, do you have maybe?
You had one and I had one, and I totally forgot both of them. And that Oh gosh. I remember, here's one about Hockey Pete. He'll enjoy this because he does stuff now and he doesn't want his reputation ruined. So we were at this place. It was I think it was called Stoneys on
Stoneys, yep.
Wells.
Yeah.
And I was trying to not fight so much, but I knew it would probably happen. And we went to who was it? It was some generic hardcore band I don't even listen to now, but we're there and we're goofing around. Pete's with me. And I remember some dude shoved Ryan Cox.
Oh, yeah.
And I grab the guy and trip him over my leg. He falls down. And you know how in the UFC, when they've knocked a guy down, they're standing above him and the guy's turtling up and they're just throwing the right hand just down, down, down. Well, I was doing that, but I was pushing his head down into the ground. So every time I punch, it was like punching his head into the pavement there. And I'm just swinging. And it was either a security guard or a guy's friend tried to jump in. And Pete, I can't remember what, well, just because he's angry. So security guard or one of the guy's friends tries to jump in and Pete just drops the guy. He's a boxer and punches him. And Pete's not a big dude, but he can hit hard. And all the attention's off me, and I look behind me, and Pete I thought he was crowd surfing, but like 3 security guards were escorting him out. So they were just lifting him while he's fighting him. So I walk out with him. We decide to head to our friend Jeremy's house. And the funny thing is, we get a call later of like, hey, did you hear what happened at Stoneys? And we're like, well, that's not that big of a deal. Like, it was just a fight with us two. Like, gosh, I didn't think it'd be that big of an issue. And they go, yeah, I can't believe there was all that mace. And we're like, mace? And they go, yeah, that Mike Cox kid showed up and bear maced all these people. And that was after we left. And we didn't even coordinate with them. He showed up to mace some people, and it just happened to be after we fought.
He was always ready with the mace, wasn't he?
I only used mace twice in years, but I think he like brushed with it and flossed with it and like, yeah.
That reminded me of a story, kind of, not a fight story, but still a funny story that I don't know if I've told this story. I might have already, but I'm going to tell it again for the hell of it. I went with my wife to an As I Lay Dying show, before
that was
the
your first
whole
mistake.
Yeah, it was before
he tried to kill his wife.
Killing. Yeah. Before that. I mean, it was during that. It was while he was trying to kill his wife, I think.
Yes.
Because, and the thing about it is, As I Lay Dying, when I first started listening to him, it's hard to find good bands that at least say that they're Christian bands, and so I'm always on the hunt for that. And As I Lay Dying was a pretty solid hardcore band, but turned out that they had some issues. But anyways, but when I first started listening to him, the guy, the lead singer Tim Lambesis, was just this skinny, Hesher looking metal kid, right?
Right.
And that's all I knew. And then I go to this show, and the guy is jacked. I mean, just this huge, like Sylvester Stallone, veiny shoulder, and just going crazy. And I was like, that guy's changed a little bit. But little did I know it was because of steroids, and little did I know that he was also trying to kill his wife at the time. But what can you do?
Nice.
Anyways, also playing that show was Devil Wears Prada, who I kind of liked at the time, but I was there for As I Lay Dying. Anyway, so I go to the show, and I'm an old man at this point, and I just came straight from work, and I had like a tie and a slacks and a button-up shirt and everything. And I was just like, I don't care what these people think. I don't have to wear a band shirt to go to a show. I'm above these kids, So I just showed up and just started hanging out. And I was like, wow, it's been a while since I've been to a show. I was like dancing a little bit and doing some fun stuff. And I'm going in and out because this is the first time I've been to a show where I can like drink legally. So I'm like, wow, I can like go to the bar and get a drink and enjoy it. So I kept going back to the bar. I was like, I'm really liking this. But the whole time, all of these people are just like coming up to me and like putting their arm around me and saying what's up and just telling me how much they like me. And I'm like, gosh, this scene is such a better scene than it used to be. And then I remember I got in the elevator and there's this whole crowd of people and they all are looking at me and I'm like, this is weird. And they're like, hey, so do you want to take a picture or what? And I was like, of course I do. And so like I put my arms around all these young people and they took a picture of me. And they thought that I was the lead singer of Devil Wears Prada, like all night.
So
because
awesome.
I had this same Davey Havoc-y haircut and shirt and tie, which is exactly what that guy was wearing. And so I'm in all of these pictures, and people are going around saying, "Hey, check out this picture of me and the Devil Wears Prada guy," and it was me. And it was so much fun. I felt so cared for. I felt heard. Felt like I was being seen. Yeah, affirmed by people. But it turned out because they thought I was somebody cooler.
That's the best shit I've ever heard.
It was pretty funny.
That's
I really
awesome.
enjoyed that. It was a good night. Everybody's buying me drinks and offering weed and stuff. And I was like, man,
the devil's
scene
lettuce
has
was
changed.
right on your face.
Yeah.
I'm gonna, Sean, are you cool if I do one more story and then we close out? Because I can hear the gremlin house.
Yes, yeah.
So we have a friend, Quin. He is a giant of a man. It's like if a mountain had tattoos and walked around hating white people. Like he's a big dude.
And he's always naked on Facebook, man, and I don't get it.
He's always what?
He's naked on Facebook all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that.
Did you?
Like an excessive amount. Like
I'm like, all right, man, all right.
I look at it a little too much. I feel like.
So hold on. This is kind of off the path, but in 2004 on MySpace, there was actually a scene battle to where who would post naked pictures on MySpace, and it was called Nakey War 04.
Yes.
And I was like, every time I'd open up MySpace, there'd be some of my friends with their hanging out on MySpace, and I'm like, wow, dude! Like everybody I knew, all except for the older guys, but all the younger kids, dude, there was like just nakedness everywhere. So I asked him, I'm like, is this like that again? He's like, hell yeah, man.
Just him. It's
just him though. Yeah, right.
Himself.
Dude.
So anyway, Seth, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh no. He so we were at a certain club. I'll use a fake name, Moo Moasis.
Oh, yeah.
And
sounds like
yeah. He encountered these gentlemen. There was 3 of them who apparently had fought or had an issue with some of our friends. And see, normally, if I was going to encounter multiple people, normally I'd say, hey, I'm going to go deal with these guys, and friends would come, just so it's at least even. Well, Quin doesn't tell any of us he's going over there. So he walks over to these 3 guys and says, hey, is your name so-and-so? And the guys go, excuse me? And he goes, yeah, don't you have an issue with my friend? And they start mouthing off, I guess, like, yeah, we fought him, or yeah, he's a punk. So Quin naturally punches the first one. The guy's done. Punches the second one. He's done. And the third guy now is like putting up his hands like, hey, chill, man, chill, man. So Quin socks him, but he punches him so hard the guy's pants fall off. Like they fall to the ground. And I've never seen the gravity or force of someone's punch like depants someone. And the dude just hits. Well, I grab my friend Mike Cox and I go, we're out here because I'm sure we're guilty of something. So we try to leave because I guess Mike was like yelling at them when they were unconscious. So we leave, the cops come, and they find Quin, and he doesn't even deny it. They bring him outside, and they're like, all right, we're finding you for this. We're finding you for this. We're finding you for that. And he went to court. Then they let him go back in the venue after they ticketed him and left. And he enjoyed the rest of the show because he's like, I'm not going to pay that ticket. He goes, I'm not even going to show up to court.
That's awesome.
So he did the same thing at a movie theater once when he was bored. And he walked up to a kid, and he was just bored. He didn't even know this guy. He goes, is your name David? And the kid gets sassy with him because he was high. He goes, what? He goes, I don't know who you are, man. Maybe you're David. And he touches Quin's chest. So Quin punches him in the face and knocks him out. Never met this dude before. And then he chases the kid's friends away. And I was like, man, so where'd you know him from? He goes, I don't know him. And we went in and watched a movie. So, yeah.
Tales from the ditch, baby.
Yeah. So you want to do the final stuff, Sean, closing us out?
Yeah. This has been Tales from the Ditch. Thanks for joining us, Clif, amidst the apocalypse.
You're welcome. As always, thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. We'll have to do this again. So if you want to comment with your favorite fight ever, or one that you think was misrepresented or not mentioned here, go ahead and send us an email at talesfromtheditch@gmail.com, or subscribe to our stuff on all the podcast areas, including the Apple one. And that's it. Oh, yeah, and be a Patreon. Go to our Patreon at patreon.com/talesfortheditch if you want to support our illustrious career. And zip it up, Clif.
Yes. I'm not good at outros, man.
I got this. So go to Instagram, Facebook, like Reno City Kickboxing, follow Clif RCK. Zip it up, Sean.
Zip it up.